I should have downloaded everything for this game while I had the chance. This is retro gaming at its finest, and Chrome should be commended for what they did with this. I mean, the level of nostalgia you'll get from this. What shall we play? I'll say that every time. And occasionally disconnect me from Xbox Live. Now this is one game they need to bring back. Damn it! Okay, here we go. My arcade! Now, let's go play one of my favorites. Actually, these are like all my freaking favorites. Like, I didn't get games I didn't like on this. Back in the day, this was the shit. You could customize your arcade, for crying out loud. And I went pretty monolithic on this one. There was shit you could unlock. It was, oh my god, it was a Renaissance era awesomeness. Okay, so let's go to the uppermost floor where I think I had all of them. Or did I? I guess not. Oh, crap. Okay. Here we go. Battle zone. Ah, man. Dang it. How'd I... Oh, there we go. There we go. God, I haven't played this in forever. This is the ultimate game to wax nostalgic on. I had so many versions of this in so many different ways. Uh oh, better turn, better turn, better turn. Oh crap, that was close. And I'm done. They used a real version of this. It was so accurate. They used a real version of this to train military troops. That's what I find awesome. This game was the shit. Dang it. It's hard to wax nostalgic about the more esoteric aspects of the arcade experience. Some games did it well, some games didn't. I used to be a freaking pro at this shit. take one hit. Oh, hey. Oh crap. Oh crap. Oh crap. I got it, but at what cost? Oh no, I saw you over there. Come here. These things would actively try to avoid you. Okay, shot confirmed. Oh crap! Hi. Oh crap! Those things were eventually the bane of everyone's existence because they got so ridiculously fast. Oh, no. Ah! I hit it! Yeah, how many people entered AAA in the arcade controls just because it was so wonky on this one? Oops, I alerted him to my presence. There we go. Gaming was always there, it was just people needed to push the damn machines. You know, they could always make a competent game if they really, really tried. And I mean, they used to have way more teams than they do now to make games. Games nowadays are starved attention whores compared to what they used to be in the 80s. But it's nice to be able to play these in the comfort of our own home. And admittedly, the effort necessary has gone up, but the people necessary has gone down. Although, some would argue really nothing's changed there. Because, well, I don't blame them. It's kind of the truth. There we go. Hit him. No, it will not. And he just started moving. Watch this. No, okay! He was about to fire. It's always who fires first. I would have been amazed if that would have hit. Missile, the wrecker of your shit. Okay, I should be getting the harder ones soon enough. And here it is. No, wait, you don't start getting the harder ones until 30k, the way I have it set up. Okay. $28,000 actually, I think it was. This game still holds up well today because it had such a good sense of perspective back then. And that is pretty mind-blowing considering, well, quite frankly, the level of luster this game didn't really have compared to its later predecessors. Hi. Are you gonna move? Okay. Watch this. Trajectory. No, go away, S voice. Oh, it nearly missed it too. God, I'm horrible at this. Gotcha. And now you got me. And no, those pyramids would not save you. Ever. It just goes right over those. Like the Sting missile it's based on. Nothing like the Sting missile it's based on. Atari. Back in the day, you were amazing. Now that I'm waxing nostalgic for Atari, I almost feel like playing, I don't know, Star Trek Armada 2 or something. Or maybe even Roller Coaster Tycoon. Yes, God forbid. Other years did not wax well for that one. Let's go choose another game, shall we? I never got into that one much. Tempest! Must play Tempest! Oops! I'm doing everything the game's telling me not to. There's no substitute for playing on the original. I'll just say that much. There's never a substitute for playing on the original. And unfortunately, my arcade never had one of these. Which is a damn shame. Just remember, if you think they were sold out now, gaming all started because of things like this. Because people wanted to make money. It has always been a service. Some people take more or less evasive attitudes on it, but it's always been a service. The argument was never moot. Never entirely lost. Not even in the video game crash in 1983, which is still to this day the worst time for video games in any time in history. I don't think you're going to find a single scholar of history as far as video games are concerned that'll argue otherwise either. It's just awe-inspiring to see how far we've come with gaming, isn't it? And yet, how little has actually been learned. I mean, if you look at this from one perspective, sure, we learned plenty. We got new technologies. Nobody ever really effectively implements them, and in the rare case that they do, it's very, very rare indeed that any of the games that sell these new technologies actually represent them well. For example, Quake Engine. I mean, look at what they can do with Morrowind now versus what they did back then. It was clear there was a whole set of potential in Unreal 3 and Quake that just wasn't possible because the hardware wasn't there. So a lot of these guys peaked before their time. Almost all of them, in fact. That's the sad part of gaming, is that most of these games are conceived not out of a true desire to create, but to make somebody money. I mean, it's slightly different now. There are many more ways to get funding than from a publisher, but at the end of the day, the end goal is still the same. You gotta make money to stay afloat. It's difficult to argue for games as an art form when you're trying to, at the same time, sell a product. Because art has seldom, if ever, been considered truly a product. Oh, not again. Got turning that blasted thing on. A galaxy. I don't know what activates it at this point. And, you know, everyone gives the Xbox 360 a certain degree of crap, and I'm not gonna say it's deserved entirely, because look at how many good titles came off the Xbox 360. And then everyone that's a Sony pony on the other side of things is like, oh, Xbox 360 was... I mean, even Xbox 360 people give it a certain amount of crap, I'll admit. But just... the hate between the two brands has grown to an insane level. Although I will say, Sony is doing a fairly poor job at handling themselves at the moment. Just because they're like, oh look, nobody can beat us. Oh, just a second. Sorry, that was my friend Russ. Oh god, this is a first. Seriously, is that not just the most mind-blowing part about this? Or should I say, more accurately, that the most mind-blowing part of this game is by far that this guy conceived of this game through a freaking dream. You don't hear stories like that anymore in the game industry. It's kind of sad. Because, I mean, just, you don't have that much raw inspiration to go on anymore. It's what the gaming industry is now is more a wholesale mixture of literally everyone wanting to get in on a piece of the action. So oversaturation's happened, and you just don't get good stories like the story of I think it was Nathan something or other that got the idea for this game literally in his sleep. Like, he had a nightmare of this game, basically. And without looking anything up, that was the inspiration for both Warlords and this game. Because I'm honestly not 100% sure it was Warlords or not. Well, it's nice to get those little extra points. Can you tell I played this a lot? Actually, I think it was Black Widow that inspired the other game that he had from the Nightmare. But I'm not 100% sure on any of this, so... Dang it. By the way, there's snow on the ground outside. Just thought I'd put that out there. Though, for me, at the immediate moment, it's just a momentary ground to wetness ratio of what the hell is this stuff. It's funny to see how the culture has changed over the years, and just one of the many ways in which it's changed is you don't have to go to arcades to do anything anymore. Occasionally, I'll still go to one because we still have a few in town, but it's just a completely extinct breed, more or less. Just, if not an endangered species, for sure. I mean, they've tried to make many comebacks with arcades. Various chains have tried to dip their noses in it again, but at the end of the day, there's just never going to be that kind of traction there was in the 80s and 90s. And it pretty much died out in the late 90s, that culture. It's something that you had to be there to grow up with, and I gotta say, someone who was growing up with it, it was pretty freaking awesome. Seeing gaming evolve, literally at its peak. And seeing all the classic game releases side by side with the newer machines. Just being able to go from machine to machine and do whatever. So long as you ran out of tokens eventually, or your parents wanted you to come home and give it a rest. No. At one point, this was shortly before a place in town called Gigglebees closed, very close to said place, and, wish I would have gone there more, but I had no idea it was closing down. Nobody really did. Nobody really knew how dire straits Gigglebees was in until it actually happened. Because some of these places, they just make no profit at all. I mean, if you've got a local arcade and you like these kind of games, go support it. Go support it in a heartbeat. Because there's just, they can't keep afloat without support from actual fans of things. And the guy behind the counter may not be appreciated, but trust me, the manager is. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be in business. I mean, that may sound like a tall assumption, but the people who run arcades are generally some of the more passionate about their job. And, at least in my experience, it's just, I mean, unless you got someone that's just gonna be a complete dick when you decide to say, hey, a machine's broken again, and they try to blame you and get you for damages, that kind of shady crap, like some sort of cheap-ass Chuck E. Cheese's. I mean, those kind of places, they're not really worth going to. National chains, if you've got a local place, support it. Support it with all your might. Because this is a dying culture. This is something that made gaming. And quite frankly, still can make gaming. This is where developers put their irons in the fire and said, hey, let's make something cool. And if we make money on it, good. Atari originally started out not really being in it for the money. It was more of a hobbyist kind of thing. That's what a lot of people forget about the gaming industry. A lot of this started as a hobby. And now I see YouTube going the same direction. So it's saddening for me to see that it's all come full circle in that respect. Anything regarding gaming sort of gets that stigma now, you know? Where, oh, it's gaming. Well, that's something that little kids do. Or my dad knows this game, okay? He could play this all day, every day, if he had the choice. He probably would. He's kind of a slacker, but even my dad knows the classics like Miss Pac-Man and Galaga. God, we used to love us some Galaga. And some air hockey. Air hockey, that's a thing that needs to come back to. ABA? Who's ABA? I don't know. They were too lazy to enter their initials. I wish I would have had more friends that would have downloaded this. I mean, there were so many games I would have loved to challenge friends on endlessly. There were just like 4 or 5 people that I ever played this with, which is really sad because 1, it was a free game. It was like the first free game on Xbox Live, pretty much, back in 2010. And 2, it was the only game that actually had these licensed properties in it that let you challenge your friends to beat your scores. So it felt more like a real arcade experience, where you would just have a sort of score attack with your friends. But instead of having a score attack physically there in the same room, you can do it from all the way across the states or wherever in the world. It's a pretty damn cool feature, and it's really a shame that you don't get these collections doing anything like that anymore, because most of them is just 1 or 2 games that don't really have any significance and that typically don't, frankly, have much replay value. Much as we wish they did. I mean, games like Gears of War are never going to have that kind of replay value as a classic 80s arcade game. And I know that some people would vehemently disagree with me on this. Personally, I think that this was the Renaissance era of gaming. I mean, some people were around before the 80s and will say, hey, there was a computer gaming era, but most of those were text-based games. Most of those didn't even have graphical user interfaces prior to 1980. And even Pong didn't have an actual CPU processor to it. It was just how the game industry evolved over time. Oh, hey, look, we're going to have to do better. We're going to have to one-up these guys to keep selling units. Because it was all about units per area back in the 80s. When I say per area, I mean per region. It was all about their sales figures to stay alive and justify actually making more of these things. And when that bottomed out in the mid-90s, that was pretty much the death of arcades, sadly. Not to say that they are entirely dead, of course. There are many still operating, but it's just at the end of the day, it really needs to make a bigger comeback to be more, you know, like it was in the 80s and 90s. I can't personally speak for the 90s. I was probably one when I visited my first arcade, for all I know, but I don't remember any of it. So, and I was born in '88, so would have been a really interesting time to be alive. I'll say that much. If I were just a few years younger, everyone says that, right? If I were just a few years younger, I could do this or that or this or that. Well, this is one of those cases where I can say it with the most genuine kind of pride, and I'm glad that, at the same time, I'm glad that I was born when I was. Because games like this, they don't come around very often. Not necessarily just classic gaming revival kind of games like this, but really any kind of thing that just allows you to revel in your nostalgia is a thing of beauty, at least to me. See that? 1980. Oof, that always... I'm getting woozy now. Okay, but... Okay, let's go to another one. Now this one that I'm gonna go to, just a second. I got a lot of experience on this one from playing it on an old Atari. Y'all probably know it. This river raid. Just a second. Had a whole arcade room full of it that I spotted earlier. Where was it? This is not it. Nintendo will never live that down. Never, ever will they live it down. No. Neither will Microsoft, though. You get your actual avatars walk around doing this stuff, and it's kind of cool that way. It must have been on the bottom floor. Yeah, I think it was. God, I got really lazy on the middle floor. Here it is. I'm not gonna take your seatbelt. Okay. This I prefer to play with my joystick. Just because that's more how it felt. I used to actually be decent at this. Oops. Yeah, that was the thing. Gee, remember when games used to be forgiving? No, me neither. You know what's sad is this back in the day was kind of seen as a little cheeky because there were so many people trying to do this exact same thing, but this is the only one that really nailed it, in my opinion, that I ever played at least. Obviously, I can't speak for anything that I didn't play for. I'm just gonna full disclaimer. Damn it, Galaxy. Shut off voice recognition. You used to have a cool voice. Wish I had like what were they called? The Hori stick, so I could more accurately emulate this. I would love to have a freaking Hori stick. Anybody watching, if you got a spare Hori stick that you can send me, tell me, and I will be more than happy to pay you to relieve it of you. Who am I kidding? I'll just go buy one, but. Best part about the Xbox buttons for the classic controller is that's exactly, pretty much exactly, to a T, how the Atari button felt. It was bigger, it was more rounded, but it felt pretty much exactly like that. That's right, I can vary my speed. See, even something like this just adds so much depth. To a degree that we don't really see in games of this complexity anymore. And when I say this complexity, I mean like mobile games. Oh sure, they had little refinements here and there in some games, like... Honestly, can't think of any at the immediate moment because I lost my train of thought, mainly. But... I guess there are a few games. Astronist comes to mind. Yes, I know. I just talked about the browser-based mobile game from 2000. But I'm talking about Astronist at the beginning, which is on mobile. In which I at least used to play feverishly. Okay, I suppose there are some games like Megapolis that really don't screw you the pooch that bad. They end up feeling so ingratiated to the devs that you probably end up whaling it anyway like I did. I mean, that just... It's one of those games that is hard not to appreciate at some capacity. But that is enough for that, and I think I'll call it a moment now. So, thanks for watching. See you on the flip side of whatever I decide to play next.